This is Axis and Allies Guadalcanal 3.3 Houseful on the Tool List channel. It is just going to be that line there, that line there, that line there, a little bit of caveat and waffle everywhere else, because like a good waffle. It fits onto an A4 size sheet easily. I get it up onto BGG, download it yourself, shove it in your box. Next time you're playing Guadalcanal, give this one a go, because that old idiot from down in Hampshire in England says it might actually just work out. And this is a bit of a tester for me, this video, because I've only played this house rule once. It's also a tester of my new phone, by the way, as well. The reason why this rule came about is I've found in my games of Guadalcanal, either playing solo or pose, and I've seen it on some of the forums as well, and some of the chat rooms and stuff, that you do get a lot of battles in the slot, C zones G and H, in between New Georgia, Guadalcanal and Santa Isabel, that kind of middle-ish area. And for me, it's not extremely strategic or tactical. It's just a big lump of dice, because the way the game's played with that mirroring, with the I go, you go, load your destroyers into there, move your battleships into there, move your cruisers into there, you tend to follow each other rather than being left high out to dry in one or two places. And it is a brave player that will suddenly just go, I'm going to go around that way when I know that this lot is being left vulnerable. So you do get a lot of battles, just one big lumpy things happen. This 3.3 house rule is trying to prevent that from happening, because very simply, I should read the rule out from the sheet down here. At the end of phase 1 step 5, which is after all the naval units have moved, each player may have a maximum of 3 combat surface ships per sea zone. The second part is at the end of phase 1 step 8, which is after the air units have moved. Each player may have a maximum of 3 air units per space. Obviously there we are limiting what you can put into one place, so you can spread them around a little bit. There is a caveat to that, which is transports, submarines and aircraft carriers do not count towards that stack limit, because none of them have a regular combat value. Obviously the submarines get to move and fire in their own step in the movement phase, which is why I allowed them to not be counted towards that stack limit. Submarines become an important purchase and funky fun when you're moving all around the board. I've played this game only once as my tester, and it's changed the way I have to think about the game. Because if you're going to have, say, Navy and Air, before you lump everything in there, Navy and Air, big battles, roll some dice, it's going to be much more subtle this time, and you still might get 3 planes plus 3 ships opposing each other in one space. But if you lose 1 ship in a space, it's quite annoying. You lose 2 ships in one sea zone, it's an absolute disaster. So I even found in my first game I was more reticent to put my ships at risk. So I ended up purchasing more submarines, as I said, they're funky fun. More air, because they feel more vulnerable. Rather than putting in loads of fighters and loads of bombers all in the same space, and you put 3 in there, you're going to lose 1 or 2 per battle, so you're buying more air units. And I'm also purchasing more ground units, because as I said, when the Navy battles become, you're more frightened to actually do that, you've got to put your attacks in somewhere, so you're getting more ground units in, and their roles become much more important, I found, for my style of play. Loving having artillery pieces on the coast to fire out into the sea zones. I've always enjoyed that idea, even if technically it's a little bit dodgy, but it's a fun way of playing this game. And I think so far the 3.3 rule in my single play that I've done, and obviously all my thinking about it ahead of time, it's as fun as the Appendix 1, those little buttons you put down with your PT boats and your amphibious assaults and your samurai charges or whatever else it was, Banzai charges, wasn't it? Again, that kind of randomness, mixing things up, is added a lot of fun to this particular game. I won't be doing this as a whole every dice roll playthrough, because I'm really short of time right now. MotoGP MotoGP season is under full swing now. We've had 3 races, got a small gap now before the 4th race comes up. And in the UK, the English cricket season is starting up on Friday, which I'm greatly looking forward to. Takes up loads of my time doing that. So that's the reason why I'm probably just going to be doing some dice rolls for round 1, maybe round 2. And after that, it'll be AARs. And I try and get this video done in a fairly economic fashion and see how my plans or tic-tacs work out. Usually they fall apart like a cheap suit. We'll see what happens. Also, it's a test as well for my new phone as well, because I'm not a mobile phone user. I get mine as hand-me-downs, come down through the generations, and this one happens to have skipped a couple of generations. I've actually got a Google Pixie something or another, which is quite a new phone, and a little test out of it. It's really good. My old phone, if you remember seeing some of those videos where the exposure would flash backwards and forwards, the light wouldn't hold in one place, and also the focus would drift side to side. This one I can lock in place, because there's a couple of guys in the village with loud bikes and loud cars that occasionally come roaring past, which throw me off a little bit, and sometimes my worms will just come out entirely wrong. I've got to sort of cut and shut and go again with it. And I find when I'm editing a video, the camera's just drifted backwards and forwards. I've got to make some sort of transition-y thing, which is annoying. It's a waste of time, and it looks a bit ugly as well sometimes. So this camera should be locked in place so you can't see when I've tripped over my own tongue halfway through a sentence. So that's all for the good. Anyway. I get this game set up over on the side table, because on the main table back there I've got War and Peace, the old Avalon Hill classic from back in the late 70s, early 80s. I haven't played that game for many years, and I'm struggling to remember how the combat results table worked. I remember it worked out really well. I thoroughly enjoyed it first time round. I'm getting quicker with it now. It's a really good system. If I can work something like that into Axis and Allies, I'll be well chuffed. But it might be too complex and too fiddly for regular Axis and Allies. But it's a really good system to play with. So, before we get going, may I mention that I make these videos in aid of a charity called Cure Parkinson's. You can guess what they're trying to do. There is a link to them below this video, one in the About section on the channel page. If you happen to have a spare $1, Euro, Yen, Yak, or British pound sent to them, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. I'll also get the copy of these rules onto BGG and a link down below this video where you can find them as well. But it's pretty simple, and you may not even need to refer to that. So I'll see you over on the table. Okay, here we are, all ready to rock and or roll. We're on turn number 1. Haven't done anything apart from set the board up, and I think everything's in the right place. It's one of the bugbears of mine. I'm always finding that with the Japan forces, it's orange versus blue. It's a clashing colour, but I'm always missing something out. I think I've got everything in the right place now. And going back to the intro slightly, this is the slot here, C Zone G and H, where a lot of those Navy battles happen in the regular game. Obviously, C Zone H is not too bad a place for the Americans, because they can protect it from Guadalcanal and only really be attacked by any artillery pieces from Santa Isabel. So it's not a terrible place. C Zone G can be quite dangerous because the Japan forces often control Choiseul and New Georgia, and getting artillery pieces shooting into the water from there. It's not a good place for America to be unless they're in majorly with a lot of forces there and perhaps attacking New Georgia as well at the same time. So, trying to decide how I'm going to play this game. Obviously, it's an I go, you go, and I'm double thinking myself all the time here. But I think what we're going to be doing, different to my initial game, is I think that if Japan try to get some forces into Santa Isabel early, as in the artillery piece and perhaps an infantry guy on this transport ship going into C Zone C and then dropping the guys off in there, moving the supplies with this transport ship into Choiseul, using the supplies here in Bougainville moved to Choiseul, we can establish a forward air base just here. It's not as good as being in Santa Isabel, but that's quite a dangerous place to be. And if we try to move the guys from Bougainville into New Georgia to get some protection there, it gives America that north-south split, whether they go to New Georgia heavily or try to get into Santa Isabel heavily. but they probably won't be able to get Melita, Santa Isabel, and the Guadalcanal Japan forces there all knocked out all in one foul swoop. So it's still it's slightly vague in my head exactly what we're going to be doing. I'm thinking more of the Japan player because they are the first player in this turn. So let me do all the movements off camera, and I'll see you for the first battle, which I think is probably going to be in Guadalcanal. And if there's a major battle in Santa Isabel as well, obviously I'll bring that to you too. Okay, we've done all the I go, you go movement phase. Had to do a quick reset on Japan because I managed to forget one of their transport ships supposed to be moving supplies to Choiseul. It happens sometimes. It was my plan and I forgot what I was doing halfway through. But everything has been done. Now I'm fairly happy with the positions everybody got themselves into. And this throw of the guys from Georgia to Santa Isabel and guys from Bougainville to back up Georgia now it's thrown some interesting little ideas here. I think America might actually win Georgia, but we've got 3 Japan fighters in there versus 2 American fighters. Just about going to balance that one out. We've also got a couple of cruisers that can bring their arms to bear in that season as well when they bombard versus just the one battleship. So it's quite interesting. Battle in Santa Isabel is going to be good. It's a very even battle there. But you have to be very careful. As I mentioned about having this 3+3, you've got battleship, cruiser, destroyer. That's your 3 limit. Those 2 don't count because they are not combat units in my definition of them. It's slightly more awkward when you come down to the Americans down here with their air units because they've got a lot of air on New Caledonia and on their carriers existing. Have to put the bombers onto islands to get their fighters into place, just in case they lose fighters, as they're going to do in some of these battles here. So the move and attack with submarines. This submarine here is the only guy that came from Sea Zone C into D, had a pop with the transport ship and shot itself in the foot. So there's nothing else to be done now, apart from the attack air units. And it's going to be an air battle in New Georgia. And I think that's about all I can see. The Navy battles is just going to be, I think, these 2 having a pop at this one submarine. They've come from the American carrier. And other than that, it will be the land attacks which I'll bring you properly. I think it's going to be the Guadalcanal attack down here. And this Santa Isabel one, a very balanced affair in there with some cruisers we can add there. Wait till the battles. Potentially New Georgia as well. Yeah, I'll bring you all 3. But that was pretty much of a damp squib. For all the air attacks that took place here, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dice in these America versus Japan there, and nobody hit nothing. In the attack sea units phase, submarines, they missed. And then when we've done one of the land units attacks after unloading our destroyers and transport ships, these 3 bombers tried to hit this one guy here, and would you know it, they couldn't hit a barn door with a bus. So all we got to do now is try to sort out some land attacks proper, please, with some hot dice. If we could at all. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dice, 7, 8 dice versus the Americans there on Santa Isabel. So I'll grab some dice and leave 4 behind and drop 1 on the floor because I'm like that. Into my world famous rolly tube, which is a bit quieter than the old battle box. Move it down there, and looking at that, we have got 1 hit on a infantry and a 2nd hit on infantry. So 2 of those American infantries will go from there. So their reply from here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dice. So I can remove 3 of them. See if the Americans can do anything to reduce the Japanese down. And they've scored 2 hits too, and they are both going to line up on infantry as well. So 2 of those guys go there. That's the first proper roll of our contest thus far. Let me look now and count the numbers up in New Georgia here. For Japan, we've got 2 shots from cruisers, artillery and 2 of those guys. That makes 5, 6, 7, 8 dice again by Japan. Stick them in my rolly tube. And it's another poor roll for Japan's forces there. I don't think you actually see that. It's just off camera a little bit. Oh dear. We've got just the 1 hit on 1 infantry. 1 American guy is going to go from there. But in defence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the battleship can hit another 2 in there. That's going to be 8 dice from them as well. Can they redeem the situation? But that dice fell out. I'm going to stick it over there at the end, and they've scored 3 hits. Infantry, artillery, artillery. Japan will be absolutely hating that. They're going to be losing those 3 guys there, because the 1 hit we couldn't ascribe going to go on to the infantry guy. That is really annoying. That's blown my plans to tatters. I wasn't expecting America to get hold of that straight away. Oh dear, oh dear. So let's now look at the one into Guadalcanal. Japan will just have 3 dice in defence for their 3 infantry guys there. And miss with all of them. America land will have 1, 2, 3, 4 from bombers, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we can get an 11th dice from this cruiser into that battle as well. Hold on to your socks, fellas. This might get a little painful. Yeah, well, I can see 3 hits there straight away. 1, 2, 3. So Guadalcanal is going to fall to into American control with no casualties for themselves. That's a little bit annoying for Japan. I think my tic-tacs here down into New Georgia wasn't too terrible, but the dice rolls were. The only real failure for America, I suppose, expecting to lose something on this attack in the Santa Isabel, but not taking Melita when you've got 3 bombers shelling 1 guy there and he survives. So that will really be it for the combats. There's going to be the phase 3 after that, which is the regrouping phase, flying your planes back, building your airfield, getting our new pieces of equipment here. Not sure what it's going to be, but I'm going to guess that the Japanese forces are going to be buying submarines versus some of the capital ships, because they're good for scoring points with. I'll see you on turn 2 somewhere. Okay, so we are at the start of turn number 2, and I've done the load and move transports phase. Just flicking back a little bit to the end of turn number 1. You could call it a little bit of maybe insider trading, but when you're playing 2 powers, there is a little bit of mirroring going on, which I think this is more mirroring than that. Because Japan go first on the first turn. They purchased a load of artillery pieces, some transport ships and some supplies, and another submarine. But they also deployed one of their transport ships, spending 1 supply, which they just purchased, to deploy this particular transport ship into Sea Zone B, so they could move it in the destroyer's movement phase on turn number 2, getting some more artillery pieces into Santa Isabel to protect the slot and the Sea Zone C and D as well as the island too. Now, America land, they had a very similar idea, possibly influenced by that. I really can't say that, but they purchased a few transport ships and some more supplies themselves, but they've moved those supplies, again spending 1 to advance it in the deployment phase into Sea Zone J over here, get it into Sea Zone I, to start getting some supplies onto New Georgia. They're going to grab one of those ones, the supplies that they nabbed from Japan as well, and move that across on a destroyer on the move the destroyers phase, which comes up in a couple of steps' time. But I just wanted to bring that position to you now before we get too busy on this board. I think I'm not going to be bringing you any of the combat from turn number two, although I think Santa Isabel could be quite an important battle up there. And in this load and move transports session, America haven't moved anything into New Georgia at this stage. They are going to be moving one more supply on the destroyer, but Japan have caught them with their trousers down a little bit here. They've moved some guys from Choiseul and Bougainville on transport ships. They've now got 4 units versus 3 units in there. So it's possible that America moving those supplies in could just be putting something in place for Japan to nick. I did think that Japan weren't that strong here when America go first on turn number 2, but they have caught us out a little bit. America have loaded into the slot, by the way. I have said the slot gets used fewer times with this 3.3 rule, but where the Japan Navy are up here in C Zone C coming round into C Zone D, if we put these transports into D, they'll be even more vulnerable than they are there now. The idea from America was to defend that with their battleship, but their battleship now has to start defending New Georgia. It added a few more quandaries for me, but again, I waffle far too much. I will see you at the end of turn number 2, I suspect, with an AAR. Well, we have reached the end now of a very exciting turn number 2. So exciting that once in a while, Poppy opens her eyes to see what I'm shouting at. Most of the time, I am shouting at the dice rolls because Japan got the best of it by a long chalk. I mean, they rolled good, America rolled bad, and when that happens, it puts a disproportionate swing on things. And I must admit that my tactics for America, they sucked. America are the first player on turn number 2. Off they go doing things, and Japan can react to that. And, well, I think Japan did outthink America, as well as outroll them. The battle here into New Georgia, as we can see, it's ended up with supplies being delivered to this island. We haven't actually got to the phase 3 regroup where we start taking control and grabbing these supplies and building an airfield out of America's pockets. Because we thought we had enough equipment in place, we had enough land units, we had enough air units. The dice rolls absolutely sucked. Japan wiped out the American air and wiped out their infantry and artillery with magical dice rolls. I think they only missed with like 1 dice from 9, or something stupid like that over there. In Santa Isabel up here, again, the dice rolls wasn't too bad up there. I won't whinge too much about that, but there were 2 artillery pieces for Japan on the island that shot a couple of dice out into the slot, knocked out one of the 2 cruisers in there. Submarine attacks everywhere, absolutely useless. America have lost 2 submarines and Japan lost 1 submarine in the Navy battles. And so America are way behind in this game, financially as well as positionally, because obviously we're going to be grabbing these we're going to be grabbing these supplies for Japan. Building an airbase gives us victory points. We're taking control of that place, gives us RPs to buy more things with. I don't know what America can do from here. And to top all that one off, after I'd done all the Navy battles and was on to the land battles, I suddenly noticed we had 4 combat vessels in Sea Zone I. And I've got a rule, in fact, it's on the sheet. It does say if noting a space is overstacked and a rollback resolution is not clear, the errant player must choose which unit to remove to their base card. Well, the resolution was clear. It was always my intention to move this 1 destroyer in with this supply, gifting it to Japan, and that 1 destroyer was going into the slot to cover off the landings there that were coming through from Guadalcanal. So I can easily move that into there. It does mean that on the Navy battle, the hit that was applied to the cruiser should have gone to the destroyer. I can't do too many rollbacks, but that I'm happy enough with. But as I say, if you can't really make something really simple, just move the guy back to the base card and slap your own wrists for it. So I think that is about it now for turn number 2. I say, apart from doing the regroup phase and getting things ready for turn number 3, but I think this is going to turn into a very short game. I think Japan are going to absolutely whip America and perhaps win this on turn 4, maybe turn 5. Let's just see how the numbers get on. But I'll see you later on, though. Okay, moving on to turn number 3. The bits you didn't see from turn number 2's end, which was the regroup phase. Obviously, Japan, acting after America, can see what they were trying to do and can react accordingly. America can only really purchase with their limited funds a couple of bits of infantry artillery and I think the supply as well. try to get the supplies that are already on Guadalcanal into Melita, build an air base, try and score some sort of points, but it's going to be a humiliating defeat for the Americans, we should think. So the Japan forces acting afterwards have got themselves infantry, artilleries and submarines, etc., but also, playing the same gag twice, have got some more transport ships and some supplies and bought enough supplies to be able to move them forward earlier as well, deployed them into Sea Zone B straight away. They can be on Santa Isabel, build another air base, and I can't see the Americans having enough forces there unless they are really big and brave to try to nab that island and nab the supplies and build an air base for themselves. Yeah, it's not going to happen. So I think all America's plan is going to be in turn number 3, because Japan's is pretty obvious, is America are going to attack in the slot here. They can only get, unfortunately, 1 cruiser and 1 destroyer to reach there this turn. But if they can put in 3 bombers and hope for the best, or 2 bombers and a fighter and hope for the best, there are some bonus victory points here available from these 3 capital ships. It's a bit of a hard ask to do that, but I think that is really where America's best hopes lie. If we get into the turn after that, we can get some more guys in to start to go and chase those down. We would think these might even go this way around. I'll see what happens with that. But yeah, we're fighting desperately for them. I see you at the end of combat on turn number 3. Okay, we've reached the end of the combat phase, bar the land battles, but there's no actual land attacks taking place. And this is about all my limited brain can remember right now, because so much happened. Japan decided to be a little bit lenient with the Americans, and the Americans made a good fist of it, I must admit. Down here in Sea Zone F, that was the casualties from the air battles that was in there. Japan put 3 fighters in to defend them and managed to lose all 3 with 1 battleship, 1 destroyer and 1 destroyer, all scoring hits. Good night, nurse. When it came to the Navy battle, shooting back out with artillery pieces from Bougainville and the destroyers that were in there, these 2 guys got knocked out, plus 1 American destroyer got knocked out, but these are damaged, not destroyed. They go back into the rebel airbase with their resilience. Over in this sea zone here, number H, the air battle again went in favour of the Americans. They lost 1 fighter. Japan lost 3 fighters, which kept their bombers alive. The bombers and what was going to be cruiser and destroyer in there, having a big bash at that. Well, the cruiser and the destroyer got lost after the Navy battle. The 1 battleship got hit, but it gets bounced off because it's metal armour that's on the side of it. It didn't work out, but it was a good plan. It was a good, strong plan. They also had the Americans, when they had 1 of their destroyers in here, we put an infantry guy on there, noticing that Choiseul was being left bare. And Japan, unfortunately, reacted by taking out the destroyer in the Navy battle, so nothing worked. Japan, being sneaky and trying to cause chaos, they ran 1 cruiser into the slot here against the 2 destroyers, and in the battle, 1 of these Americans got taken out straight away. Nothing else really happened exciting in there. Air battle down here, or air-sea battle down here, nothing happened down there. But in the sea zone, just down here, number JK, whichever one is in front of the American base, there were, I think it was 2 Japan bombers that survived the air battle. Oh, it's down here. Survived the air battle, taking out 1 American fighter in the process. But when it came down to the bomber trying to hit anything down there, it only hit 1 of the cruisers, but successfully knocking it out with a roll of a 1, which takes it out. It can't be repaired. So that is a quick précis, as far as I can remember, of all the combats that took place there. It was pretty brutal, and I take my hats off to the American player there for being proactive rather than being a big girly chicken. But trying to make things happen is always better than sitting back on your laurels. So I'll get on with the rest of turn number 3 and the phase 3 regrouping, where we convert all these supplies on islands into air bases and adjust the point. I think it puts Japan up to 10, but I'll see you on turn number 4, whatever happens. Okay, we are deep into turn number 4 now. Couldn't see any point in bringing you in the pre-ramble that I would usually do And I'm not even going to bother with the dice rolls now because I think it's all over Red Rover. Japan are on 11 victory points to America's 7. There is or was, in my planning stage, a very faint outside chance of America turning this around. But it relied more on luck than judgment. And it relied on America deploying these 3 transport ships into Sea Zone I, costing them 6 supplies to do that, to try and attack Bougainville. If we can take those two air bases on there, it's a 2 air base victory point swing to America land. Well, Japan also had their own ideas about building an air base by deploying it into Sea Zone B, running these 2 transport ships forward with some more supplies into there. So they're going to grab 1 point there anyway at the end of next turn, regardless of what they lose up there. And America's plan really relied on perhaps hitting Santa Isabel. We've got some guys going into there, but we've got no protection for them. 3 fighters there, it's not going to do too much, we wouldn't have thought. And the second part of America's plan was taking out some capital ships, but we don't have enough hitting power, enough range. Our 1 battleship, we've taken it back out to protect these guys there, fearful of what the Japanese were going to do. But in the end, it's useless being sat there. So just get on, I think, now with all the combats here. See if America can take Santa Isabel or even destroy the airfield or damage the airfield to take that point away from Japan, and see if they can get something out of that Bougainville attack there. But I think that the numbers actually already say that we can't do enough damage to take that island. But I'll see you in a little bit, though. Okay, I'm more than happy to call this done and done now after the combat of turn number 4. America made a fairly reasonable fist of it over there in Bougainville, but ultimately not enough hitting power to take that island and grab those 2 airfields and those points, etc. Japan have landed over here, in New Georgia. They will be building an airfield. When it comes to the building airfield stage, America didn't get to land on Santa Isabel. I'm not laughing. All their transport was taken out ahead of time by the combination of the sea units and the artillery pieces on the island there. But America bombed Isabel, taking away the 1 airfield by damaging it with those 2 hit points that are required from that. And everything else really well, a bit of a damp squib, I think. I'm a little bit disheartened with some of those American tactics. Right away early on in the game, when we put our supplies into New Georgia, trying to get an advanced air base, and then promptly lost it by losing all our troops with an extraordinary dice roll by Japan there. So it put us on the back foot, and I haven't been able to recover the situation for America. Overall, the 3.3 house form, this is my second playthrough of it. It does add a little bit of a twist to your thinking, because you're only having that limited number of air or sea units in a sea zone. In a similar way to those national advantage tokens that you can put in there on the appendix number 1, adds a different way of playing it every time you pull out a random number of those advantages from a bag. So I think that would do now. I think of a quickie counting up here, Japan will be on to 16 victory points on turn number 4. Almost unheard of in my games, I must admit that. And America are down on a lowly 10 points at the end of it, I think it's going to be. And I think that flatters my tactics for America this time round. So that would do. Until next time, be cool.